Hello, this is Corley Lee within the Basement podcast. Wanted to talk about something that I've been talking to people about. This is more on the adult side. Change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. I've seen people, and I've been talking to people here recently, and one of the things that we were discussing was the subject of change and the change in your household regarding the stress, the anxiety, the fears of becoming an empty nester. When you don't have to run the kids to practice, run the kids to school, when you don't have to go to games, when you don't have to travel out of town, when you don't have to go on these school field trips, when you don't have to take them out to make sure they get something to eat or go pick something up from the store for them because they need it for school or for a game or whatever the need is, or they ran out of deodorant or whatever it is. Change. Becoming an empty nester is scary for some. And it causes problems that arise after that time of change, where it's just you and your spouse or significant other in the house, and you don't have any kids in the house. And a lot of people either don't know who their spouse is at that time, or they end up just ignoring it and not even being around their spouse. They kind of almost live two separate lives, which ultimately, statistically, ends up in separation or divorce or just unhappiness. So I think there's a few things to get ready for those people who I know here in the next maybe 4 years or so. Me and my wife are going to become empty nesters. So there's a couple different things, or a few different things I think that would help to prepare before that time comes. The first is every week at least one night a week, have a date night. If you have a busy week and you can't do a date night somewhere with just you and your significant other or spouse, then do a lunch, do a breakfast, do something where you're getting out of the house, just you and your spouse, for at least an hour, maybe let's say 2 hours, at least a couple hours if you can, hour and a half, and just be with your spouse, learning them, seeing what they're going through at that time, and just having some good conversation and just kind of almost courting each other again. The next thing that I suggest, and like I said, I'm not a guru, but just some things that I suggest, and we sometimes know these things but need to be reminded of them, but is to get out of town, just you and your significant other or spouse, and just get out of town at least once every other month. Overnight trip, weekend, y'all got, a holiday off on Monday, so you leave on, Saturday, don't come back till Monday morning or something like that, or late Sunday night. But just kind of make those plans. That's about 6 times a year, just doing that every other month, once every other month. And, get some time away from your normal scenery just to kind of clear your brain, so that you can have, sometimes we sit down even on date nights, but we have our brain so clogged with so many things, with work, because I'm out and I'm seeing people that I know, so then you spark up a conversation with them, or they spark up a conversation with you, and it's kind of like the date night is supposed to be about you and your wife, but hey, you are out in the community, you're like me, you're coaching, and I do a few other things, so a lot of people know me, so at the same time, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like I almost go somewhere in town, everywhere I go in town, I always see somebody that I know, and it's just kind of, man, good to just get out of town, away from the people that you know on a regular basis, and just enjoy each other. And third thing I would say is just to be spontaneous. Find out what your spouse likes and go get him, or we'll go get her some flowers. Maybe go get him a massage, or give him a massage when he gets home, or you know, do whatever your spouse like. It could be cooking a certain meal, just being spontaneous. It could be, you know, I don't know, ironing clothes. It could be washing dishes, you know, if you don't normally wash dishes, or could be, you know, cooking if you don't normally cook. But do something spontaneous and do it on a regular basis, just to keep your significant other spouse to wondering, ooh, what are they going to do next? And I want to do this for that person. So it kind of sparks that, I guess, that unconditional, or that just that, hey, I'm thinking about you. Because when you're doing something spontaneous, you're really getting into what that person probably really likes, and you're just kind of doing that, or something that they would enjoy, and kind of just doing that on, not necessarily on the fly, but kind of, you know, planned, but just some extra thought. And that's those three things that go a long way, a long way. I think one of the biggest things now is, and this has been the number one failure in most marriages and relationships, is communication. I think it's something that, you know, when that time comes when you're about to become an empty nester, and your one spouse has a plan for the kid's bedroom and the other spouse has a plan for the kid's bedroom, whether you're going to turn it into a study, or you're turning it into a sports room, or if they live in a basement, you want to finally finish that basement, and there's money that's allocated with it, and, you know, kind of all those things. So I think communication is going to be key, as always, but specifically talking about what you guys, you know, come to agreement in on your plans on certain things. Are you going to downsize? Are you going to sell the house? And you have a 5-bedroom house now, but, you know, you have 2-3 kids leaving in the next 3-4 years, and okay, you might want to start planning to start putting money in the house to fix it up so it can be ready for sale, you know, by the time they leave, or, you know, or you can do it when they leave. At least you have a plan. You kind of communicate those things, and you can kind of, you know, work on those things together, and bring about some, you know, type of togetherness, or, you know, effective communication. So I think those things always help. Like I said, I'm not a marriage guru. I just kind of know kind of what things have worked for me, and I've seen work for other people. But if it's not addressed, and if you already know, like I said, change is inevitable, that is going to happen. For most, I know some kids stay in the house until they're 35, 40 years old for whatever reason. There could be a good reason, it could not be a good reason, but becoming an empty nester is challenging for a lot. A lot of people lose their own self, not alone, you know, let alone, you know, knowing who the other person is. But you get to know that person through date nights and trips and spontaneous things, because you're thinking about what that person likes, or asking, you know, posing questions, just so you can just kind of surprise them with something. So I think that's going to be a really helpful thing. And I know we're working on that. So I'm kind of giving you a phase in my life where we're trying to work on that. And we have some of those things down, a few things we got to clean up, but it's just very beneficial. And hopefully it works. But I know it does, and I know it will. So, but if you're about to become an empty nester, please take into consideration some of the things that we kind of spoke about tonight, and do something nice for your spouse. Do something different for your spouse. And maybe you'll see it in return, hopefully. Until next time, Corley Lee with In the Basement Podcast. See ya.